Guilty balls. Yeah.
Nice. We might have been a little bit off, but not too bad. Not too bad.
Oh, I was trying to plan ahead a little bit so it'd be perfect. But,
Not quite. Not quite. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Kilted Balls podcast. We've missed you. Hopefully you've been having a great week. So hopefully I sound better. I said I needed to upgrade my mic, so I upgraded my mic today. So hopefully, listeners, you can hear me.
Sounds amazing. Oh, there we go. I was wondering why it was so dark in here.
I was going to say, you're so bright. Did you turn on one of those fancy lights?
I did. I turned on my fancy light right here. Ooh, and look what I have. We might be able to do this today.
Oh! Stare at it. Oh, my goodness. Have you tried it?
I have not tried it yet.
Oh, my goodness.
Just have it here.
That's super scary. So for you listeners who don't remember, we talked about how if you stare at a mirror long enough, you'll see a stranger. So, it's kind of a freaky experience,
well,
I've been told.
I would think it's just different aspects of you. Why does it have to be somebody else? Like, you're looking in the mirror, right?
I think your brain just translates it as somebody else.
That could be cool.
Could be cool. Kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we are not streaming today. So if you were trying to hear us live, sorry, you got to join the Discord to be streaming with us. But you know what? We love it when people are on our Discord. So, if you feel like joining us sometime, jump on our Discord, right? And we'll give you a little clap.
Yeah.
Woo! So, Discord's always available. We're on there quite a bit, so you can always get on there and message us and hang out with us and all of that kind of fun jazz. So,
yes,
good times.
We're always there.
Heck yeah. So, what did you have this week, Kilted? Anything big? Anything fun?
No, nothing I could think of.
You got your Gift 18.
No, that was a couple weeks ago. We've already talked about that. Yeah, we haven't gotten that yet, but I thought that we had talked about that. Or maybe I just talked with you about it. So yeah, we got our. Oh, maybe I talked about 17, because 17, I was not disappointed, because I have a bunch of the VFriends cards. I haven't played the game.
17 was VFriend cards, right?
Yeah, 17 was VFriends cards, and I was like, okay, maybe Gary's going to go really good on 18, finish strong.
Yeah.
18, it was cool. It's not stuff that I would buy for myself, but it's cool stuff. So it is what was it? I think it was a Joe Montana signed football, and a for the GOAT, and then a Trevor Lawrence signed jersey, which will be cool. Someone who is hoping to be a GOAT.
Nice. Maybe we did talk about this, listeners. I'm sorry if that's a repeat. So it's hard to remember what we talked about individually.
I thought we did. Yeah, that's true, because we do get to talk. But I mean, it's cool stuff. I was just like, I wasn't thinking it would be a Tesla. But I'm definitely, glad I did the whole thing. I'm going to keep it. I mean, I've been getting offers already for it. I'm not going to sell it, because who knows, any of the surprise and delights, they've been cool. And not that I could do all of them. And then also there was just a pickleball one recently for one of my series 2.
Nice.
But I wasn't going to be able to make it. It was just Atlanta, which wasn't too far, but we just had stuff going on that weekend. I talked to your middle child to see if she was going to come down.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd go with her, but she said she was going to. Or maybe she didn't get the email. I forget.
No, one of those.
No.
I'll have to ask.
She doesn't want to be my special friend.
Aww. What do you have to drink tonight?
Oh, I have what we went to Chick-fil-A earlier, which is always yummy. So their lemonade's amazing. Mm-hmm.
My daughter did as well.
So I put some Bombay in there.
Oh, nice.
So it's amazing.
I have an issue, and I think it's an issue with lots of places, but Chick-fil-A in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I get their iced tea lemonade stuff,
mm-hmm.
I'll drink that whole cup in 30 seconds.
Is it because of the ice? So today was a good ice ratio.
No, but
I've gotten
then
it before.
I refill it and I drink it in 30 seconds. And then I refill it again and I drink it in 30 seconds. Like, and then I'm like seriously feel ill. And I'll get another one and I'll drink it. Like I can't. Like I'm just like, oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Like for some reason there's no like, oh, I've already drank enough, I need to stop. Like it's like, oh, this is good and I'm thirsty and then it's like gone. And
that's hilarious.
I'm so confused by it. And so like sometimes I don't get it because I drink it too fast and it makes me not feel good.
So you ever get their ice cream drinks?
No, are they good?
Yes, but if you look, it's actually Ice Dream, and I don't think I've ever drank one and not had like a coma and needed to go to sleep like within half hour. So and then I noticed one day it said it says Ice Dream. Maybe it was on the box I saw or something. And I was like, oh, no wonder. Ice Dream. Nice dream. Go to sleep.
They put a little stuff in there, make you like sleepy.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So it's hilarious. Oh, nice. That is awesome.
Yeah, that's right, people. We have sound effects now. We're like big time.
So, yeah, if you gutted through that last episode, that's why Ball earlier said that we weren't going to be streaming. We don't know what the problem was, but there's definitely a problem.
Yeah, so apparently whatever internets we have, it was not going to stream. So
it said nope.
Yeah, so hopefully.
So
hopefully people didn't watch it. They just like listened.
Yeah, they just listened. It was a lot better. But yeah, the gift, the gift goat was awesome. Like finishing strong. I imagine some of the gifts will start coming in. I think it's by the end of the year that they're saying they're coming in.
Okay.
And so yeah, because not that all that stuff isn't instant.
That's kind of exciting. Okay, I have a thought for you. This just like popped in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious because in my view, you don't get this opportunity very much. And so I'm wondering. So this weekend I volunteered for a race in the town, right? And so like I got up at like 3 a.m. to set it up. It goes right through the middle of town, right?
Mm-hmm.
Helped set it up, and then I like worked a corner until the race was done, which was like 11ish, right?
Yeah.
So no big whoop, just volunteer. But the part that was weird is I asked one of my kiddos, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be volunteering this weekend. Do you want to volunteer? They always like need people, blah. And they're like, why would I volunteer? And I was like, because it's good for the soul. Like to volunteer to do something good for no like reason. I'm like, that's like a good thing. And I'm like, it looks good on college apps, looks good on scholarship things. If you decide to join like National Honor Society, you could do that. I'm like, it's just a thing. And they're like, yeah, I don't think so. And I'm like, okay. And then like one of the kiddos who's in college, I was like, hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to volunteer? Yeah, for sure. What time should I be there? I don't care. Like, you can do the overnight. Okay. And then one of the other kiddos was like, hey, I want to volunteer too. I'm like, okay. So what makes it that some people are like, oh, yeah, I'll volunteer. And other people are just like, yeah, whatever. And you don't get that opportunity, right? Like, am I correct?
Yeah, I'm not involved like in the city, although I've been like it's been something that's popped into my head, so I think it's something I need to pursue, like to go to things. I used to go to like small business meetings, and I didn't like that because like some people and maybe it was just a few people at the one I was going to, but they were like they're hard selling or reaching out to me afterwards and hard selling, and I wasn't there for that. I was there. I just share my ideas. We chit chat, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. So, maybe that was because of this, life insurance, blah, 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 that sort of stuff. Like they needed to sell.
Right.
But, I don't know. The town I live in is pretty small, but I'm sure there's things that I could be active into, kind of be part of that. So no, that's not something that I actively do, but it's something on my radar. But I give, even like today, there was a special thing at Ollie's school where the kids were getting shaved ice.
Right.
And we forgot all about it. We forgot to do it online. So it's like we have to take cash. I don't ever have any cash anymore. Went to the gas station. Oh, we don't give cash back. I'm like, oh, crap. Okay. Go to Walmart. So I'm buying random crap so I can get cash back. Walmart. I get the $20. So I was like, okay, well, I'll give it to him. Hopefully he brings some back. And if he doesn't, oh, well. So I hand it to the lady, and she's like, oh, do you want change? And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then she's like, oh, she only had like half the change, that I needed. And I was like, well, wait a second. You guys do a thing where like kids who can't necessarily swing it, people can give extra money so those kids can have some. And she's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So I just said, okay, like get him this and then give as many people as can get, something.
Right.
So, that's a small thing. It's $20 and it just goes like your time and your, or money. And I'd like to give more time, to do, some of the fun stuff like you do even.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because a lot of organizations right now seem to be dying for adults, like Lions Club or like maybe Knights of Columbus. And there's a few of those kinds of things, right? Like the Masons.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? And it feels like they're slowly going away, the Rotary Club. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, is it something that is kind of going, like people don't talk about it anymore? Like, hey, maybe you should volunteer. Maybe you should join a group that does service. Like,
yeah,
maybe that's going out of vogue. Like, I never hear people talking about it. And, I'm kind of in a, service industry isn't the right word, but you know what I mean? Like my whole job is like doing things without necessarily doing things for compensation necessarily.
Yes.
Right. So like I live to serve. I always tell them, like, I do things that serve the greater good. That's kind of
You're not coaching because they give you a couple $1,000,
right? Because like my 20 cents an hour or whatever I probably make.
Oh, it's not even. They can't be that high.
It's got to be low. Right.
But yeah, exactly.
But I think other people only look at doing it for money, and I don't think that's wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, I wonder what it is about people. Like, that was two of my own kiddos, and one was like, "Yeah, I'm ready to volunteer," and the other kiddo was like, "Yeah, no."
Mm-hmm.
But they both had the same upbringing.
I think it would be the age difference. Am I guessing it was the youngest one that said no?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But I think when you were that age.
But my middle one, when she was that age, would volunteer all the time too.
Okay.
And so would the oldest. Like, I'd be like, "Hey, do you guys want to do this?" They'd be like, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I've been saying a lot lately, because we've talked a lot recently, especially the last few episodes, just about like soul searching or like self-betterment. And one of the things I say a lot is we're just all on different paths. Like this guy behind me today. So it was rainy out. I needed to turn left. I had the blinking yellow. There were 4 cars turning right to where I was turning, which was an entrance onto the highway. Right. So it wasn't a double lane road. I waited for the car behind me was beeping at me. So I'm waiting for those cars to turn because the right has the right of way. And then he started to pass me on the he started to like turn to get on the highway before, and I just went, and he stopped, and I just got on, and I said it to Gina. I was like, well, we're all on different paths. Like, he's got something going on. Why would I let his whatever? And the funny part was he flies past, and then he's stuck behind people, like because it's just a 2-lane highway. And then he ends up going to the same school we're going to, so I pull behind him. And the car that he was messing with, like, we got in front of him again. And the road is 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. No one drives 20. Everyone drives a lot faster. But this car was just going 20 all the way down. And he was just right, like a big old giant truck riding their by. And, it's... And we do. Everybody has a different path that they're on. And I'd like to think I'm calming down. Like, and I'm sure we've talked about it on the podcast. Me driving, I'm a different person when I'm in the car, and not because I have reined it in over the many years, but yeah, that's where I think one of my last steps to true enlightenment is just to, when I'm on the road, to just let things flow, do what I'm doing, obviously be careful, and just if other people are excited or crazy, why let that bother me? If if I have judgment on how they're acting, why do I have any judgment?
Yeah, no, I think that's
I don't know what's going on.
I think that's really big. So I've been regressing. Speaking of that.
Uh-oh. It happens. We're all on a different path.
Well, so let me give you an example. And I kid you not, I've never been one to blame TV or video games for anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I had a couple, like, not good thoughts recently.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Cripe, it's because of the Blacklist." Because we're watching the Blacklist all the time. And, like, the main character will be like, I don't think you understood how sad you make me. Boom, boom. Like,
okay.
And there's no emotion, no feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, yep, you sinned, boom, boom, done. And I'm like, right? Like, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. And that's kind of how I used to be, right? Like, I was like, yeah, it is what it is, right? Like, sometimes violence is necessary. And, we talked recently, like, I've grown past that. But there have been a couple occasions lately where I'm like, why didn't they kill that person? And I'm not talking about the TV show. I'm like, huh.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, that's weird. Like, somebody was getting, like, threatened and people were being, like, super mean. And they were like, yeah. And my husband was like, we've got to move. And I'm like, really? Why didn't your husband say we're going to go kill that person? And they're like, what? And I'm like, what? I'm like,
that's a whole different story. You don't mess with my family.
Right. But I've been really good about keeping, like, my violence level really low. And so all of a sudden these thoughts came out and I was like, whoa, that's like an old version. I'm like, that's kind of weird. But I'm having a hard time today, by the way. It's like driving me crazy. Because of the way we're recording now versus how we used to record, you're really, really big right here.
Awesome.
So I keep looking at you. Like, I'm making eye contact like we're talking.
I see.
And then I'm like, oh, wait. It looks like I'm not looking, so then I'm, like, looking at my camera.
Can't you adjust See, you're smaller, but we're up and down. So when I'm looking at you, my
camera's right there, right?
I
know. Yeah. I thought, I'm like, oh, man, I should take my camera and put it, like, up here.
No, just adjust it. Oh, there you go.
But I'm like, it just isn't in a good spot for when I'm looking at you. So I'm like, gosh darn it.
I do like I don't have to wait 3 seconds for the delay for you to finish talking, so I can talk.
That's good. That's good.
Seems to run a little bit smoother. So I actually thought that you had something to share because of the comment you made on Twitter. So that's really what I was waiting for.
I am that project. That project's going to be a pure surprise, and it's probably not. Even, what?
It's that project. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was one of the other ones.
Nope. It's just one of my projects, and I'm not talking about it. I mean, I am clearly talking about it right now, but I'm like, that's going to be something where, like, all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, Ballbuster did a thing.
Awesome.
And then we're going to talk about it on the episode, and, like, some people will know and some people won't, and that's just the way it is.
That's awesome. No, I had full plans on writing today while the boys were at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I had my earbud in. Like, if I'm listening to something, I can listen to something and I can type. But then the Man City game was on, so they did win. Looks like they're going to be league champs again.
I really wanted to watch some of those games or some of the Charlotte games, and I keep forgetting to try to find them.
Tomorrow night, I'll have to have the Charlotte game on when we're playing because it's a rare Wednesday game.
Ooh.
They're up in Chicago.
What do you watch them on?
The Charlotte game has to be on Apple TV.
So we have Apple TV, so I could turn it on and watch that. You and I can watch it together, and we can be the distracted ones this week.
There we go.
Nice.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, it was. So I ended up not typing. I was just. I watched. By the time I watched the game, I was like, "Oh, we only have a half hour left." Mm-hmm.
So sad. So sad.
All these grand plans.
Yep. It's a thing. We need to sit down. I was thinking I need to spend time this summer just writing, and maybe not even about that. Maybe other stuff. I'm like, I've had so many book ideas and so many cool things I want to do with writing, and I never just like do it. And I'm like, I really need to just spend time. You know, I tend to wake up ahead of everybody in the summer a lot of times, and I'm like, I need to just spend time just going to town writing for a little bit before people wake up. So we'll see. A funny thing about volunteering this weekend. So I'm kind of like holding up traffic, directing traffic at an intersection during these races, and I'm stationed with a guy and with a police officer, right? And so the police officer and I are kind of talking, and he's mildly grumpy because he didn't get his coffee. You know? And so I'm like laughing at him, and he's like being grumpy to the cars that are coming in, and I'm like laughing about it. Like just being a stickler, which I'm totally okay with. I'm like, I'd rather err on the side of safety, like be a stickler.
Yeah.
But so we're talking, and somehow it comes out as we're talking, he's like, well, I'm a county commissioner. I was like, oh, you are? I'm like, what's your name? And he's like, he tells me his name. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I go, I'm running for county commissioner against your buddy. He's like, oh, you are? And I'm like, yeah. And so then I proceeded for like the next hour and a half, subtly pestering him and asking him questions and, you know, doing my normal stuff, doing the stuff I normally do. And I would say I for sure did not earn his vote, right? Like it's his buddy. He served with that buddy for like 10, 15 years as a county commissioner. But there is no doubt that if I beat his buddy in the primary, he's voting for me. No doubt. Good. Like I'm laughing the whole time. I'm like as he's talking to me, I'm like, I can tell he's trying not to like me.
Yeah. But he's not that powerful.
I know. I'm like, good luck with that, buddy. Good luck. And then I felt bad for him because, you know, his friend's an incumbent. They've been doing this for 20 some years. You know, he's been doing it forever, which is one of the things. I'm like, I didn't want to run against him. Well, then you say he messed up. Well, he messed up, but the big thing was, I've been really patient waiting for him to retire. I go, and this time I'm like, I'm tired of waiting. He's going to have to make the decision to run or not. I'm just putting in my name, and I'm going to put it in before he puts in his. So he knows that he's not giving up his spot to, like, some random. Like, he can research me, you know, when I'm doxxed and see who I am and, you know, and be like, oh, yeah. And he chose to run again. And I'm like, you know what? That you're good for that. But it doesn't change the fact that I'm tired of waiting. And if I lose, it's like I always tell people, don't interview for the job you want first. Interview for other jobs first. So you're prepped and ready to go for when you really want it. And so I'm like, you know what? I go, I'm running now because if I win, great. And if I lose, then that just helps me for when it's real.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's kind of like a win-win for me. But, you know, we're at a race in my city. You can imagine how many people talk to me.
Yeah. And were you guys are hanging by each other like all day?
The whole time.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, you know, people stopping on the street to talk to me, people during the race talking to me, right? I'm like, this poor guy, like, he's got to be sitting here watching this going, oh, wow.
Like, oh, crap.
Like, my buddy doesn't know anybody, right? Because he's, no offense to our older listeners, but, you know, he's 70-something, pushing 80, only goes to, like, meetings So he doesn't know anybody in the community anymore. He doesn't hang out with people in
Yeah.
the community anymore. And
Yeah.
obviously I'm working a race. I'm vested in the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm like,
Yeah, you're volunteering at the race.
Right. And not because of that. Like I was volunteering at the race because one of my buddies does the race and was like, hey, I can use volunteers. I'm like, I'll be there and I'll bring 20 kiddos too. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I'll make sure your race does its thing. That's kind of one of my jams. So anyway, it was just one of those things where I'm just like I kind of felt bad because I'm like, I'm not like trying to make you feel bad. I'm just being me, and who I am is who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
So
speaking of races, if you remember when I ran in the green run.
Yeah.
So my one friend who got hurt definitely wants to run it again.
Okay.
Like he really, really wants to, even though his wife isn't really excited about it. Oh, run for green. Okay, I got to write that down. September 28th. I think I have.
So she's not excited about it.
She's not. Well, he re-broke his ankle or whatever, but the doctor told him like not to run, not to play soccer anymore. Like this, he's low 30s, so he's not old.
No, he's a baby.
But he's like no, he's still playing soccer and he's gonna run in this. He has to finish. So Matt and I were just talking about it. I was like, yeah, like let me know. Like I need to look up the date. I need to schedule it again. So this time I might actually train.
Oh, nice. I've been really, really like trying to get myself to do stuff. I'm feeling like super out of shape.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh man, I really need to like start getting in shape. And I'm having the hardest time like getting myself motivated to do it. But yeah, I hear you.
Awesome.
Like sometimes picking something is like the way to get there. And I'm like, right now I just keep like kicking it off till the end of the school year. I'm like, okay, once the school year ends, then I'm doing stuff every morning.
Okay. Well, here's me.
We'll see if that happens.
The beginning of the year I was doing good because I was getting on the Peloton bike and I was like, oh, once the Peloton's here, like then I'm really going at it. Mm-hmm. So when did we do that big move? It was the end of April. No, it was the middle of April because we were like, oh, we want to have the house listed by May, and the Peloton's still not set up. It's in a spot.
Well, don't worry, the house isn't listed either.
The house isn't listed either. No. So I guess it's not as important as I thought it was, and when I'm ready, it'll be there, and then I'll be ready. So I've been doing lots of other fun stuff.
Yeah,
what are you saying?
Which is good. Another thing that I thought of that I was like, ooh, I kind of wanted to mention, and this is going to sound, sorry listeners, it's going to sound stupid, elitist, and bad, and it's sometimes things are just the way it is, right? So we have a little bit of controversy in our community. It seems like we do every month or so, right? Like it's hard to not have controversy in this time. And so I was at a meeting on Monday, and I live in mid-Michigan, and there were people there talking about the controversy from one side of it, right? And out of those 5, only 3 of them lived in the community.
Okay.
The other 2 did not. And the first one to talk who didn't live in the community is from Dearborn. So, listeners, that's like an hour and a half away, right? And a completely different community in every way, shape, and form than my community, right? Wouldn't you agree? So, completely different. And the guy gets up to talk, and I'm like, buddy, you are so out of place. Like he's yelling, he's trying to pick fights while he's talking, and just like being like crude and crass. And I'm like, this is not how we operate in this community. Like, like, we'll get mad and we'll have controversy and we'll argue, but we're not that way. Like you're like, I'm like, you're giving a bad name to your side, right? And then like another guy who lived in DeWitt talks, and he's like talking and he's like sensible and sane, you know, I would say kind of on the wrong side of the issue, but what he was saying was really good, really smart. I'm like, yeah, buddy, you're saying good stuff.
Uh-huh.
The other guy was like on left field, and that guy started like yelling at the end, like yelling at the people running the meeting. He like ran one of them down. I think he got escorted out by cops.
Really?
And I'm sitting here going,
my gosh.
You clearly don't understand where you're talking. Like maybe you should have done some research on what the heck you were doing. Because the guy he's yelling at, I'm like laughing because I'm like, I'm 99% sure the guy you're chasing down and yelling at who ran the meeting is on your side. And you're treating him like he's some enemy and like screaming and yelling at him. And I'm like, and that guy's
no.
the meeting.
If you're on the same side and you have one little disagreement, then you're not on the same side anymore.
Well, and there was no disagreement. He was just running the meeting because there's no communication during the meeting. Like there's no back and forths.
Okay.
That's not how they run. So when you like talk during the meeting, you're just talking for 3 minutes and then you're done. They don't answer you. They don't give you any responses. They just sit there like this. And then the next person comes up. They'll be like, and Roger Rabbit. And Jessica Smalls. Like, that's all it is, right? So, like, you literally didn't know anything. Well, like, another guy who wasn't part of the community, and he didn't say he wasn't part of the community, and you'll laugh at this. Other listeners, you won't. But he gets up there and he's like, you guys are worrying about this stuff. Maybe you should be worrying about your test scores. How far have your test scores gone down while you're worrying about this other dumb stuff? You need to focus on reading because I bet you're not even looking at your reading scores and math scores. And for listeners who don't know, that's all we look at. We're very highly regarded in terms of our test scores because even like tomorrow I'm going to a meeting where we're analyzing data from test scores for like 3 hours. So like everybody's just looking at the guy going, you clearly don't know who you're talking to. Like that's like our thing. So again, people now
just wanted to come say hi.
Well, that's it. They come out, and what I think is I think COVID, I think honestly Trump, they gave people this idea that they're allowed to just spout off, which they are. They are totally allowed to. But they don't realize the reason people didn't do that before was because you made yourself look dumb and you made the issues you're trying to talk about sound dumb. So like when those people got done, all the other people who talked in the same vein they did all looked bad. They all looked bad. Yeah. And I'm like, you just discredited all of those people by your antics because we're not an antics kind of community. We're a very straightforward, kind of say it how it is kind of community, and we don't do antics. Yeah. So I'm like, you just kind of ruined all the other people talking.
Yeah. You might disagree, but then you go have a beer when you're done.
Right. Like, and that's the point.
Yeah.
I'm like, so dumb. But, you know, you can't fix it. It's like one lady, she's like, her whole thing was a diatribe insulting one of the people on stage, right? And, so the entirety was just insults, one after another. 3 minutes straight, just insult after insult, and purposely mispronouncing the person on stage's name.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So like it'd be like the whole time me being like, "Hey, Cal-Ted, you know, Cal-Ted, you do this. Cal-Ted, you do this. All you people listening to Cal-Ted do this and this," and like they get done, and I'm like, You're so dumb. You're so dumb. Because two things just happened by you doing that. Thinking you're being smart. Because they do. They think they're super, super smart. But But first off, you're trying to hurt that person's feelings, right?
Yeah.
That's why you're insulting them, is trying to hurt them. What you don't realize is if you don't use somebody's chosen name when you're ripping on them, they can't internalize the insult.
Yeah, because it's like, that's not me.
That's not me. So the person the whole time is just sitting there smiling, and like it just went, like, never phased them at all, because it's seriously, they never felt like it was directed at them, because they must have said the wrong name. Like it was a thing. It was part of the bit. They must have said the wrong name 50, 60 times in 3 minutes.
Wow.
Right? And so like it's going right over their head. Here's the other thing. Your other reason for doing that is to make everybody else think that it's like a mockery of that person.
Mm-hmm.
And what you don't realize is because nobody knows that name that you're saying, they don't have a neural pathway to connect to that person. So you're doing that and they hear you saying it, but if you went back to people in that meeting, like if you just picked somebody and said, hey, what did they say about so-and-so? They're not going to be able to recall it. Because that's not the name that you just associated with by saying it over and over and over. I'm like, all of your points, you just screwed up. Because nobody's going to remember that now. I'm like, you're so dumb. And I laughed with the other person. I saw them today. And I said, oh my gosh, that was hilarious. And they were like, yeah, it was so nice. Like, none of that hurt. And I'm like, it's like the dumbest thing ever. And they're like, please don't tell them. I'm like, heck no. I go, stupid people should be allowed to be stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So anyway, people, what else you got, Kilted? We got maybe a minute left.
Oh, man. I can't think of anything. I mean, like I said, like I've been listening to a lot of good stuff on YouTube, and I was going to start a book, but I didn't. And then, I've been listening to a lot of Bashar stuff. I've been going like to old Y-Files, which are just fun. And, I did tell. Oh, I had a great joke.
Tell me your joke. Because
now that it's a joke, it's not going to be as funny. But let me lay it out here. We're out for Mother's Day. Okay. Papa's there. Tristan's there. His girlfriend. Everyone's there.
Sure.
And we actually last week. Wait, actually, this is something different. Okay, so. Papa's been wanting to go to IKEA. Okay. So we're like, okay, let's go to IKEA. So he kept on wanting the address. We're like, we're not going to give you the address. We have to go there with you. It's easy to get lost. So he's looking for like bedroom stuff. And this super pretty lady comes up and he asked how much for a one night stand. And he's never allowed to go back.
True story or not true?
Always true. No, that was not true. I heard that joke on my files, and I'm like, I need to use that. Man, so Brian, what are you going to say?
That would have been so funny. We haven't talked about business stuff for a while, but I've got a business thing that I was thinking of this week. Not business entirely, right? But a frame of mind. So I was sitting here about a week and a half ago, and I read somewhere about, make sure you follow your financial goals and reevaluate them and have a budget and do all this stuff. Which, listeners, full disclosure, like I don't do any of that crap, right? Like we've talked about it on here before. I'm horrible about journaling, right? My wife does all the budgeting. If we even have a budget, and she's the CFO and she doesn't make a budget, like we just kind of live our life and everything works out. So when we did have
we live in a world of abundance.
Right, we live in that mentality. Now, that being said, I want to say it was like a year or 2 years ago. I was like, I want to do a debt snowball. And I did it like kind of on my own methodology, like I do everything, right? And didn't want to include my house in that, but like everything else, I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this. And we didn't do it like Dave Ramsey says to do it, but it was more like, hey, let's focus on this. Let's take an accounting of our debt like every month and like look at how it goes. And because of that, within like a year and a half, all of our debt, but like our house and like my solar panels, which are part of the house, was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like we took care of all of it. And we were like, that feels good. So when I saw that on whatever social I saw it, I was like, you know what? That was really, really valuable. We never talk about financial goals. And so then one day I'm out doing stuff and I'm thinking, I'm like, what would I have as a financial goal? And I thought, you know what? I would really like to have my house paid off. I think that'd be good. We owe a ton on our house. We just bought it, 6 years ago? Probably refinanced it 5 years ago. So, you know, I'm like, that would be a cool thing, like to not have that over your head. And I'm like, so I started talking about it and I said, hey, maybe we should look at doing that. Maybe we should look at either paying it off faster, maybe selling properties and putting that money in there or whatever. Just getting rid of it ASAP.
Yeah.
And Monday, so yesterday, I like started pulling up stuff and I'm like, I'm going to pull up a calculator and see like what would happen if I put in like 20,000, 30,000, if I paid an extra 1,000, 2,000 a month, like what would that do? I realized the interest on my house is 2.8%.
Oh, nice.
I'm not paying this damn thing off.
Now,
I'm not putting any extra money into this.
Don't put any extra money into it, but this is something that it's funny, either last week or the week before we were talking about, because Tristan was setting up his stuff for his new car, and Gina's like, you need to make payments on the 1st or the 15th and the 30th or whatever, however it works out, but 2 payments a month, just cut your payment in half. And if I remember correctly, and like for a house, it cuts off like 7 years.
Yeah, it does.
If you're just making two payments, all that. So listeners, and I was like, well, crap, I need to set that up. And it's funny because my new car, it won't let me make 2 payments. It won't let me set up a payment for less than the payment due. So I'm going to try to figure out some different ways.
And I don't know
because I was like, how did I forget about this?
Yeah, and I don't know if mine does either. But if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't understand why you wouldn't pay your house off. First off, you're not paying a lot of attention. But second, you need to do, and this is a societal issue, a way better job of financial literacy. So the worst CD you can get right now is probably 3%, which means if instead of putting $1,000 into my house every month, I put that into a CD, I would make more money than I would have paid in interest. In other words, I would come out ahead. So you would never pay off the house if it's at 2.8%. And right now, like even something dumb like my credit union, they have an add-on CD, a 1-year add-on CD for 4.25%. I'm like, why would I pay off that loan when I would loan myself that money at 2.8%? So that's, in other words, that's good debt when you have that kind of an interest.
Yes, that is.
So you don't want to pay that off any faster than you have to pay it. But, and this is, I think, where society gets in trouble. That doesn't mean that instead you take that money you were going to pay and go spend it on a car or on jewelry or whatever. What it means is if I was sitting there thinking about spending an extra $1,000 a month to pay it down, I take that $1,000 and I put it somewhere where it can grow at more than 2.875% a year.
Yeah.
Which, FYI, could be anything.
Yeah, right now. Yeah. There's lots out there.
Oh my gosh, so much out there. So much out there. So I was super disappointed that in April, in our 36-step challenge, I only made 3.5% in a month. And I was upset.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I once I start closing some of my bots, I'm excited to announce where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because I haven't in a few months. Well, my bots are red.
Well, and once those bots aren't red, it'll be nice. I have a few of them that are still red, but that's going to be good.
And actually, Gina and I have been talking okay, because we have a big stack of stuff we've gotten from Goodwill. This stuff, we bought it to sell. We need to start selling it.
You need to sell it. What are you going to use to sell it?
Probably eBay and a little bit of Facebook Marketplace.
We were trying to decide if that was still a thing. Is Facebook Marketplace still a thing?
Here it is. I don't know about up there, but here it definitely is. And actually, I can't remember if I said this on the episode or not, but when I got tires for my lease, because I was turning in my lease and I knew the tires were bad, I went to the tire guys right by me. And I was like, hey, I'm the warehouse behind you guys, blah, blah, blah. So we were talking. And he, I was talking about my sheets. And he asked if I did Facebook Marketplace. And I'm like, no, I don't ever do Facebook Marketplace. And he said he only does Facebook Marketplace. Okay. His only advertising. And he says he gets people, we're in Troutman here, but he gets people, an hour away. People from Charlotte will come out, from Winston-Salem, from Statesville, Hickory, will come down and get tires from him. So I was debating on doing maybe like once a month, like a certain color, like, hey, blah, 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 I have this color I'm selling. And just like show prices, like $40.
Yeah.
And actually I was thinking sell or barter, like I'd be willing to barter. I mean, people have stuff, especially, summer's coming up. There's going to be a lot of extra veggies and stuff like that.
Heck yeah.
So I don't know.
No, I'm excited.
Just
to hear
different ideas. Yeah.
Super excited. All right.
I'm glad I said it on here because I have to do it now.
Yes. Now you got to be held accountable. The listeners are listening. So.
Oh yes.
All right, people. This is a longer episode than we've done in forever.
Oops.
So we are going to end it. But thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We love you. Give us some comments. Give us some likes. Give us some follows. Tell your friends. Tell your loved ones. Come listen to Kilted Balls. Anyway, you guys have a great week. This is Ballbuster signing off.
Kilted Dragon Jerry, love you all.